is Brian from HorizonX, that's Boeing's corporate ventures group. He's their senior managing director. So come on up, Brian.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here today. Thanks for joining me. I just wanted to spend in this short a little bit of time talking to you about how Boeing is thinking about the future of mobility, some of the pain points and problems we're trying to solve for, but really more from an investing side, given the great sort of startup presence here at CES this year, what we're in particular kind of looking for, how we like to partner with the companies that we invest in, what are some of the technologies and enabling areas that will make the future of mobility a reality. Happy to chat with anyone afterwards if you're interested in learning more. I know 10 minutes is brief, but I'll just try to jump into it. So, as the intro said, I'm from Boeing HorizonX. HorizonX was stood up about 3 years ago, and it's really set to be a new innovation cell for the Boeing company. How do you start building the future of mobility that isn't your traditional airliner? You've seen a lot of folks, if you've gone to the convention center in the North Hall, you see new forms of mobility, flying taxis, new forms of autonomy. How does Boeing participate in that in the future? So HorizonX was stood up to do that, and a key piece of it is recognizing that we can't do it ourselves. There is an ecosystem of new innovators, new companies, new platforms, new infrastructure out there that all need to come together to make that a reality, and so that's what HorizonX is all about. So what's the problem, right? So the problem we're trying to solve for really is this, in a nutshell. And there's some other things, but I think this can relate to all of us. How many times have we been stuck in traffic? How many times have we flown 3,000 miles halfway across the globe only to sit in traffic 2.5 hours more to get to your final destination? Or how many times have you been late getting to the airport because of that traffic jam on the highway? This is what we're really trying to do, and what we're trying to do is give back our most precious resource and time, right? How do we save folks time? With more time, humanity can be so much more productive. We can spend more time with our families, we can spend more time with our jobs, we can spend more time innovating, we can create new sustainable solutions for the betterment of mankind, but time, giving time back. And how do we give time back safely, right? You can't sacrifice that time if it's at the expense of a safe environment. So, speaking of the environment, these are some of the things we're really trying to pay a lot of attention to. So, the world of aviation and aerospace from a 103-year-old company is vastly different than it was from the beginning. Today, we think about new business models. You're no longer just selling new hardware and platforms. You have on-demand, you have the on-demand mobility, you have sharing, you have new platforms, you have new ways to monetize mobility in the future. The technology that's going into it is far different and far more complicated than early stage aerospace. So you have to worry about cybersecurity these days, the transition from traditional gas turbines to an all-electric fleet, to noise considerations, because now if you have a future transportation system that's in somebody's backyard, you don't necessarily want the sound of a jet engine in your backyard environment every evening. And then, of course, sustainability. I think this is a growing focus around all industries, but aerospace is certainly getting a great deal of attention. And how do we create a more sustainable, more efficient, more green set of technologies in the future? And then finally, the social dynamics, the way you load 180 people on an aircraft today and you have very infrastructure-centric and regimented processes for loading and unloading. How do you change the whole social dimensions of jumping on the rooftop of an urban center and getting in a 5-passenger flying taxi? All of that sort of changes, and we're looking at companies that can impact that. So that's all coming together. We're trying to pay attention to the convergence. It's not about individual building blocks, it's about an ecosystem that comes together and really makes all of this a reality. So here's what we're paying attention to. So when we think about discrete technologies and we think about discrete innovations that are happening, these are the 4 primary buckets. The mobility transformation piece, which I talked about, and the main problem we're trying to solve, that can be platforms, but that can be so much more. That can be autonomy systems, that can be electrification, that can be new airspace management systems, that can be batteries, right? So there's a whole lot that goes just into that bucket alone, But so much more needs to come together to make this a scalable and dense sort of opportunity space around the world. So space and connectivity, you might not think about space and connectivity, how does that impact a flying taxi? But when you want to think about ubiquitous connectivity, you want to think about assured communication, assured control of your platforms, space and the satellite layer of comms is going to be critical to that, in addition to ground-based. Now that's all great if you can build the platform, if you can solve the technology hurdles. If you can't produce it efficiently, if you can't make it cost effective, investors are going to ignore it, companies aren't going to pay attention to it, and it won't get off the ground, so to speak, if it's a lost leader. So really the Industry 4.0 environment of how we can build things more efficiently, safer, scalable, and assured that each single version that's coming off the line is exactly the same. It's meeting the safety standards. You know, right now we produce aircraft. Really, you know, you think about volume at 57 units a month. That's a lot in aerospace today. In the future, you're going to be talking thousands, right? So how do you have a manufacturing capability and a supply chain capability that can support that kind of volume? And then finally, digital acceleration, right? There's a digital layer to all of this that's different than aerospace today. You think about the aircrafts that are flying, you know, as sort of independent sort of platforms. You now have a much more interconnected sort of network. The aerospace management layer is going to know where each individual aircraft is with each other, but each aircraft is going to know where it is in relation to each other. The passenger experience is going to require much better connectivity and in-flight entertainment than you have today. How many people are pained by the Wi-Fi that you have on the plane and the bandwidth that you have? But cybersecurity is going to be absolutely critical. Some of you may have seen some different showcases here and how easy it is to spoof GPS and spoof other sort of navigational systems, right? We need to have, if this is going to take off to the masses, you need assured cyber security around your platforms and know that, you know, if it's a pilot controlling it at the beginning, that they're in full control and nothing can be compromised. But then as you evolve to an unmanned platforms in the future too, that those are absolutely robust. Where we've invested to date, we've invested in over 25 companies, and not all of them are on this chart. Some are still operating in stealth mode. We have about another 10 that are in work now, but it's a broad mix. We love to invest in early stage companies. Really, our model is about the partnership that builds with the companies that invest in. We're not just a passive financial investor. We want to bring the extra value that can come from the Boeing company, whether it's technical expertise, regulatory, helping solve a tough supply chain problem or technical challenge. All of that comes with the package, if you will, of us investing in you. And we love to have that day-to-day working relationship. Conversely, we love to be your biggest advocate. We love to introduce you into all of the channels, business and market channels that we can to grow your top line. This isn't about Boeing bringing onerous, exclusive sort of conditions for its own best use. It's about building what's going to be the most successful for aerospace. So that can include for us, that can include for other competitors and partners in the aerospace industry. The bottom line is we want to make you as successful as possible, and we're committed to doing that. Our check size is typically in the $1 to $10 million range for our first investment. We love to have a continued presence. We take a position that even beyond just the investing side, and post-investment, we have a portfolio development team, and they're really the ones to help live and breathe the relationship on an ongoing basis. Boeing's a complicated place, 180,000 employees, more geographic sites than I can count. And how do you navigate that from the outside, and how do we help ensure you're connected to the resources that you need or are looking for, and how do we ensure that you get inserted into the right technology roadmap so your platform can be, and technology can be adopted to the masses. So with that, we're here to help solve the problem, give everybody back more time in their day, make for a safer, more sustainable mobility future, and look forward to working with anyone that's interested in the future. So thank you.